Welcome back to another episode of the Top of Off Cricket Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Henry, and as usual, we are talking everything West Indies cricket. With me, as is the norm, I got Sam and Walter. So, busy week in West Indies cricket again. Not so good news. The ladies failed to qualify for the next 50 over World Cup. And it is starting to become a trend with West Indian teams failing to qualify for major tournaments. We didn't. The men's team didn't qualify for the Champions Trophy. Didn't qualify for the 50 over World Cup. Missed one of the T20 World Cups previous to last year. So it is starting to become a trend now. The ladies have failed to qualify for the next cricket World Cup, 50 over Cricket World Cup. What are your thoughts, Sam?
Oh, where to go? I was hoping that we would be given the go-ahead over Bangladesh for the fact that we beat them. But as we all know, we lost out based on net run rate. In fact, if I switch briefly to the under 15s, I know we're talking about women's cricket, but if we switch briefly to the under 15s, I actually thought in my head that Jamaica would be ahead of Guyana on the rankings, given that Jamaica beat us, when was it? On Thursday.
Yeah.
Again, net run rate is the tiebreaker as such. So that's my first concern. But again, the rules are the rules.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I get a feeling that the consensus was that we are not ready for the World Cup. I don't know what you fellas think about that, but some comments I've heard suggested that, look, our women are not ready to go forward, and so
Walter, I'll let you answer that question.
You're not going to be worried about.
Or I'll let you respond to that statement. The women are not ready.
You know what? I think that the problem is that when you say you're not ready, I think we weren't prepared enough. And I don't think the women in West Indies cricket are prepared enough to play consistently well at the highest level. Why, as I said in a previous episode, at the regional level, at the grassroots level, I don't think that the women play enough competitive, high-quality cricket, and it can be seen at the international level. The truth is that Bangladesh and Pakistan have caught up with us. And we are and we should not, and even Scotland is almost at our level because they beat us, and Scotland should not have beaten us. So this is, I'm fed up of blaming. I'm not, as I said, I'm not blaming the women. I am blaming if I'm casting any blame, I'm casting blame at the West Indies Cricket Board level, and then the various territorial levels and the governments in the Caribbean who need to do more for cricket and other sports in the Caribbean. So this is just a representation. We're not, our teams not qualifying for the World Cup level. This is a representation of what is happening at the grassroots level in the Caribbean. True.
I'll tell you what. Courtney Walsh did an interview recently in Jamaica there, and he said there needs the women need to be playing at least some 2 or 3 day cricket, right, at the territorial level, and I have to agree with him. Here's why. We're asking these ladies to undertake a tournament style 50 over tournament, right? But you're gonna have there's a requirement to bat for long periods of time. 50 overs is a long time. Yes, it's a shortened format of the game, but it's a long time, right? If you are not playing long format cricket, the game, the form of the game, the format of the game that helps every other format, whether it's 50 over, T20, and this newfangled thing that they got, T10. Red ball cricket is the foundation, right? Here's the other thing. I think there's a test match scheduled with South Africa, if I'm not mistaken, next year.
Yeah, next year, sometime next year.
Right? So how are we gonna prepare? How are we gonna prepare these ladies for that engagement? Right? I know we played a couple of one-day games. I think was against Pakistan and Bangladesh in recent times, but that's not sufficient enough preparation for the ladies, right?
Yep.
Especially when you get into a tournament style qualification process where every game means something. You understand? Every single game means something. I feel like there's not been enough long-term planning where the ladies are concerned. And I know Miles Bascom and the rest of the folks at CWI are doing their best. They have development of the game in the best interest.
True.
Right? They have. But it is not going to do us any good in the short run. So anybody looking for anything great from our ladies in the short run, you got to hang it up. Since 2016, when our ladies won the T20 World Cup, and they won that World Cup against all odds. I don't think either the two of you could say you had West Indies winning that World Cup. 2016.
No, we didn't. Not even.
No.
Not even close.
No. I don't think anyone expected us to win that. But what has happened since then? The regression has been so bad.
And that's my thing is like, yes, Miles, I'll say this. Miles Bascom and them and before they've been really trying to take West Indies cricket to the next level. Even Darren, the CEO said it. The cricket West Indies that he knew is a different place. Yeah. So there's modernization in West Indies cricket happening. But my thing is that at the local territorial levels, I don't think in some territories more needs to be done. And I've spoken to a few of the female Guyana cricketers, and they've said that cricketers that not enough is done at their level, not enough cricket is played at that level, not enough cricket is played in the schools. Like for example, now the Carifta is going on. Carifta is going on, and as you guys said, there is a lot of people who are not going to make it to the next level, as Chris Darren said. So I think that there needs to be an outreach because we have so much athletic people, naturally athletic people that are not going to make it in the other sports that we could attract to cricket.
Yeah.
For example, Hayley Matthews is a Carifta athlete. She's a javelin gold medal winner. Yes. So I'm saying that we need to do a lot more. And as you write, more cricket needs to be. I've always said, Kevy and Sammy, we do not play this one wrong cricket. It's too much. They need to play more. The cricket needs to be played. We are blessed with sun and sunshine 24/7, and we have not taken advantage of that. And I'm saying that, again, I keep saying we need to think outside of the box. And we don't, these tournaments could be in one place. People are hardly watching the game right now. Eventually, when we get there, we could have sponsorships and then we could move around the crib because we know that transportation is expensive. So we have to adjust.
Here's the thing. Here's a question I have, right? Hayley Matthews is I think is going to be 28 years old this year, right? She's in her prime now. Stephanie Taylor is on the other side. She is working her way out sooner or later. DeAndre Dutton is on the other side at 30, right? Outside of those three ladies, if Haley Matthews goes down, or let's say when they get to the point where they're not as good as they used to be, because there's going to come a time when, age starts to dictate your performances, right?
It's already up to Taylor.
Who are the next generation of West Indies female cricketers that can do the things that Dutton is doing and Haley Matthews and Stephanie Taylor? There's no Marissa Aguilera anymore. There's no Anisa Mohammed anymore. You understand? Where does the next generation of West Indies cricketers come from? Female cricketers come from? We got Zeta James, yes. But when I look outside of Zeta James, when I look at the other than let's say Chanel Henry. Chanel Henry's coming into her own, especially in the batting department, right? When I look at the rest of the players, would any other team around the world go, we would love to have her in the squad?
Yeah.
No, right?
You're right. You're right. You're right.
So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Where West Indies are now, and in regards to Chris Darren's comments, the West Indies that he left and the West Indies that he's came back to is two different West Indies. I am hoping that 10 years from now we see the fruits of what Chris Darren is saying. Right? 10 years from now, I refuse to look at 5. I'm saying 10 years from now, all the territories are stronger. West Indies cricket is stronger where female cricket is concerned. Anyways.
I ask you guys, what you guys think is the number one reason? I've said a lot that we are not doing well as territories, male and female. Male, specifically female right now, since we're talking about the females.
Not enough investment in the female game. I don't think there's enough investment in the female game.
In what way? Financially
and structurally, in terms of getting the game going at the lowest levels in the schools.
Yeah.
In the different areas, in the different territories.
So the other question is this: who is responsible for that? Where would you lay blame at?
You see, that's the thing, that if I were West Indies cricket, I would realize that I would take it on my responsibility, and I would try to have conversation with the boards. I don't know if this is happening behind the scenes. I would try to, so that this could be part of, like, cricket is there's 3 sports in the Caribbean that are, I say, on a level. There is cricket, there is football, and there is athletics. Those are the 3 sports that are dominant in the Caribbean. The others, that are played by, are done by a lot of people. Everybody here run in school at least one time. Everybody kick the ball. Everybody play cricket, right? So
basketball.
I'm saying, and basketball come down. We went to very good schools, so we were lucky to have basketball courts in our schools, right? But I think that as you Kevin was saying, I think that as you said, I think that it's a governmental thing. And I think that if I were West Indies cricket, I would try to have an alliance with the various cricket boards and the various governments, along with the local cricket boards, in terms of having cricket an integral part of the school system in the Caribbean, the length and breadth of the Caribbean.
Well,
Sorry,
how
Coach.
I would put it though is like this. You see, it's very easy to lay blame at West Indies Cricket Board, territorial boards, governments. And I'm not saying you're wrong here, Walter. They of course have a large responsibility with regard to the development of various sporting disciplines, right? We get that. But the reason why I asked the question is for the simple reason that are we as a society doing enough by women's cricket? So that's the answer I had in my head, that as a society, I don't think that we're doing enough by way of women's cricket. So one can make an argument that not enough is being done for schoolboy cricket. We've raised concerns on that. But when it comes now to female cricket, I would bet that it's worse. And so the question is, how do we then promote female cricket at the grassroots level? Right?
Go ahead, Sam.
I have seen it. I've seen where, let me say at the primary school level, it is going to be near impossible for you to find 11 girls willing to play cricket and who are getting the support from their parents. Because don't forget, if mommy don't want her child playing cricket, and I deliberately said mommy, because fathers generally, when it comes to sports, would be fine, right? If you don't get mommy involved or willing for that thing to go ahead, it's not going to happen. I don't know if it's on this program or maybe in one of our conversations, I mentioned a former student of mine who played on the 14 or on the 13, I wouldn't call which country, but who had to stop playing because he had to go to church on Sunday, and Sundays when a lot of the cricket is being played, and his mom said, no, you got to go to church. So he drops out. Represented his country, but had to drop out because of that, right? Anyway, so I have seen where, since it is difficult or near impossible to find 11 girls, you put the girls to play with the boys. It might be one girl, it might be two, but that's what I've seen. And I think that is good. Even if it means that girl only gets to play a few games, at least she's in the mix-up. She's learning because, of course, outside of a match setting, she is learning the game.
I guess that's why
What are your
Haley
thoughts on
got
that?
so good, because she played with a lot of males.
So,
Right?
Sorry?
Yes, Kevin, go ahead. Sorry.
Haley Matthews was on the boys' team at her school, right?
Yeah, she captained her team.
Captain the team. The boys that we're talking about are playing international cricket currently, right? One of them actually plays for England, Jacob Bettel. And there's a couple other boys that are playing international cricket right now for the West Indies. You understand? Or who would have represented West Indies and Barbados, right? But that exposure to that level of intensity, that kind of education, that environment is one of the reasons why I think Haley Matthews is where she is right now in world cricket. You understand?
She's a modern day. She's a great. She's one of the greatest.
If we want to talk about generational talent, Haley Matthews is a generational talent, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult when that day comes for Barbados and West Indies to replace her, right? Now, you don't have to replace, she doesn't have to be replaced in how Haley Matthews did it, but someone who produces on the level that Haley Matthews did, right? That's what you're looking for.
Not just one, multiple.
Right.
We need the multiple.
Right.
We need a production line We need to find it because there are people, there are talented people in the Caribbean that can play.
So here's where I go back to what Sammy was saying, and I've always in our WhatsApp chat I've said it a lot of times. Parents need to be the ones driving this. You understand? Government can throw money, the private sector can throw money, but if the parents are not actively involved, and instead in it as used to happen in Guyana, enough parents is go, what cricket gonna do for you? What football gonna do for you? What if you broke your foot, if you broke your hand, what gonna happen? Enough parents is actually say those things. You understand? Instead of giving the child a chance to play. Even teachers.
Yeah.
Who is the next set of parents to the kids? They say things like that.
Yep.
Were you wasting your time playing cricket for? Were you wasting your time playing this for?
You're always with a bat. You're always walking around the place with a bat.
Yeah. So parents and teachers and the community on its whole have a role to play. Where
a big one.
A very big one, where the next group of cricketers are concerned, right? Throughout the territory.
But fellas, go ahead, Walt.
I'll say this. We have a number of problems where this is concerned. I agree, and I think that this is that could definitely make a major difference. The emergence of the importance of community, and Walter Rodney talk about that, right? And Sammy, you always mention that. But three things I wrote down here, and I said it, and this is a correction of what we said a few weeks ago. 9 out of 10 of every university graduates migrate, right? Our problem we have in the Caribbean is brain drain. A lot of the times, the people with the know-how are not here in the Caribbean. Going back to what you spoke about the parents, and I agree with this, there is this lady called Odette Parry, and she was talking about male underachievement in the Caribbean. And she said, she used the term Lucia Bull and Tire Heifer syndrome. Whereas Caribbean people, the boys get to run wild, and we take the women and we keep them in, and as you
put
said,
them in the kitchen.
That's talk about with defining 11 people. And I always realize, I didn't realize until I came across a lady by Joy DeGruy, that talks about post-traumatic slave syndrome. And we are so scared, and we have to think outside of the box and to say, you know what? Because I know educated people. I grew up with somebody who was a major influence of education in Caribbean, and she tell me, why you playing cricket? Yeah, you're going to end up like a certain Guyana cricketer. I ain't calling the name. You got no education.
Oh, boy.
You understand? So these are the things we have to fight. And I think there's the importance community. One of the things I enjoyed when I went to Barbados is that we stayed in this area in St. John's, and I love the community involvement in how the cricket ground and cricket was played and maintained. So it's there. One of my favorite books is with whenever I forget the name, is Spratt Morrison, it's a Trinidadian set, and it talked about how the Carib community, we had that in the Caribbean. Where is it, guys? And it coincided with us being the greatest cricket nation in the world, in the history of cricket.
Well, I'm gonna stray here a bit. Let me make two points, but where to start? All right, so on that last point about the community involvement, I've made this point several times in the last few weeks, and I find it necessary to do so again. A point which Desmond Hoyt made in 1989. In speaking about development, development is about people. It is initiated by people, it is sustained by people, and it is ultimately about people. Nowhere in that statement does Hype mention money, you know.
Yeah.
We live in a time when the focus is on money, and people don't realize or appreciate that, yes, money allows for the price mechanism to work. Money is a store of value, right? Money represents a unit of account, as we all learn in high school and so on, you know? But on a deep level, it is people who get things done.
Yeah.
So we look around the Caribbean, oh, the place nasty. Oh, the cricket field got too much bush. And we wealthier now than our forebears. But we don't have the community that they had back then because everybody hustling for the almighty dollar. And if I don't hustle and if I do this, then the person gonna get a bigger car or a bigger house than me.
And we have
That's where we are as a people.
We have adopted the North American lifestyle. The books that I was
Of
talking
course,
about,
where the individual is king,
yes,
not the community.
the books that
That's
I was
where we
talking,
are.
the books that I was
Right?
talking about is Spratt Morrison, and the book by Walter Rodney is the history of the Guyanese working people.
Working class, right?
Yeah.
But the other point to note, fellas, and we perhaps can end here, is do we need to have the inclusion of girls into, I was about to say schoolboy cricket, but let us say primary school and high school cricket. Do we need to formally state that every team needs to have at least one female? Is that where our government should
need to have a female cricket team? And I think that if it's marketed properly, it can be done. Because I know Nastasia Rambaran
and Talia Choi,
who is a doctor
Today.
who topped when we wrote CXC,
Yep.
yes,
played cricket.
Yeah.
Wasn't Talia Choi too?
Talia Choi played too.
Talia, Priya Bagwandin,
Priya,
Malkia,
yeah.
Malkia, all of these girls played cricket. From our school, the other schools had. So we always had more than 11 playing.
Listen, the
So
interest,
what happened?
the interest is there from the young ladies. You understand? It's up to the parents and the teachers and the community to foster that interest.
Right.
Right? If you don't give the young ladies the platform to excel, what are they going to do? You have to give it to them. You understand? It needs to be, they need the support. They need to know that they're supported in this endeavor. Because if every time they want to play, you want to tell them, oh, you're a girl, you're supposed to play cricket, all them nonsense. No. Right?
So here's another question now. Since we recognize that there are clear deficiencies in female cricket, right? Relative to male cricket. And I agree with you, Walter. Yes, all right. So we have female cricket teams. Could we allow, if it so happens, a female to represent the school, to play with the boys then? So we still allow for the, for what Haley Matthews was still able to do, while at the same time pushing female cricket? Or do we leave male cricket by itself? Let them play. And I think you see where I'm going here, right? In the sense that if we want future Haley Matthews, while we're still developing female cricket, for that outstanding player, give her a chance to play with the males. Because she is so great and she has no competition with the females. And of course, we hope that in 10 years' time, we would be at a level where we don't need to have our females join with the males. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I personally think it is something that needs to happen, right? It shouldn't matter if she's good enough. The only way she's going to be good enough is if you put her in that position,
I can't argue.
right?
Mm.
You will never know how good she can become if you don't put her in that position, right? As Chandapal say, you can't make runs sitting in the pavilion, right? You're not going to get better if you don't play with better people. Simple as that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would personally advocate for that. Now, over here, like, you know, when they have the rec sports and stuff, and they have a whole bunch of, sometimes there's girls on the boys team. Where soccer is concerned or football, I personally think they can find girls teams. You understand?
Right,
But
right.
to have one on a boys team, I absolutely don't have a problem with it, right? If
And it
every
should be
school,
like written into tournaments
yeah,
rules where a girl must be playing. I
yeah,
must play on each school team, each under 15 team, each under 19 team. And you're right, guys. We need to think outside of the
you
box.
got
We
you
need
got to be
to
willing to
be
take the
different.
chance.
And I guess what
Yeah.
we're saying here, people, is that we understand that West Indies cricket, the West Indies women were not successful. It hurt. I saw the tears, I saw the emotions, and we're not blaming them because we understand that there's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Mm.
I refuse to blame the ladies. You understand me? I thought now while they had chances to qualify smoothly. You understand? I understand that this is way bigger than what took place in Pakistan at the Gaddafi Stadium. You understand? The issues surrounding why we weren't able to get over the hump is way bigger than what took place in Pakistan. The
True.
onus is now on Cricket West Indies and the territories to upskill the young ladies that are currently in that team or in that group of players, and upskill the other
I
ladies in
know they
the
have the
territories.
academy and everything.
Yeah, but
There's a comment I heard. I don't recall where, but I heard a comment within the last week or so where it come down to a matter of intensity. In that the ladies weren't as intense at the start of the tournament. So
I agree. I think they took Scotland for granted.
So is it a case in terms of getting there? Were they fully settled? Because you know how things can go here in the Caribbean in terms of the logistics of getting to a place and getting people settled and in a frame of mind, you know. I don't recall. I don't know if you guys can speak to this. Were they able to have a warm-up game?
so they were warm-up
What
games.
happened?
They were warm-up
Mhm.
games. Actually, West Indies were there way ahead of time. They played a couple
Yep.
of warm-up games,
Okay.
right? So they
Okay.
had time to acclimatize, right? I
Mhm.
just think West Indies cricket, both male and female, when it comes down to tournament style, qualification process, since 2016, we've had an issue. If you remember the 2019 World Cup, we had to go qualify, the men had to go qualify in Zimbabwe. Barely got over the hump. You understand? And we had Chris Gayle and all these people playing. Hetmaya and all these people playing. What should have been a walk in the park turned into a very difficult trek through the jungle. You understand? Same thing happened a few years, 2 years ago. Failed to qualify. We went to the World Cup qualifiers. Zimbabwe beat us. Netherlands beat us. Teams that don't typically beat West Indies. So we have a problem when the stuff is on the line, right? When place is on the line, I think it's more of a mental thing. It's more, for me personally, it's more of a mental thing. I don't think it's so much a thing of ability, but more of a mental thing. But that's a good point for us to end for the ladies, fellas. Tough luck for the girls. They did not get through. Would have loved to see them in the World Cup. But we got some young boys playing in Antigua, and the tournament is getting hotter. It is getting better. You know, the batting is looking better. The bowling is looking better. The fielding is looking better as the tournament wears on. Sam, you've been really into this under 15 tournament. I didn't get a chance to fully watch the last round of games. I just caught the little pieces, bits and pieces. Fill us in.
Well, I must say, I can't watch all the games, but I've been listening and tuning in whenever I get a chance, including while driving, right?
Yeah.
So like I said before, I'm happy that, all of these games are on YouTube. Our young people can follow the games at their leisure, Of course, now is Easter, so people are on break, so they can pay even closer attention. Yesterday, the third round of games, as you rightly noted, we've seen an improvement in performances. To give an example, the match between Jamaica and the Leeward Islands, I actually thought that it would have been smooth sailing for Jamaica, right? But Atenes held his own and put some runs, and the match. That was the last match to end, if I recall clearly.
Yeah, that was the last match to end.
Yeah, so we see, and by the way, the Leeward Islands are at the bottom of the table. They haven't won any games. So to see them fight yesterday was definitely good. Of course, if we look at the overall table, Barbados again is on top. I don't think there's much of a surprise there, But again, you can't take away anything from Barbados. Like I said earlier, I thought Jamaica was ahead of Guyana, for the mere fact that they beat us earlier in the week. But based on net run rate, Jamaica comes in at third, Guyana second. And I know, as we've said before, it is, we're not going to focus on the numbers, especially and on performance. Not going to focus heavily on numbers, but I still do believe the numbers give some insight into what is going on, right? Like I said earlier too, I haven't been following as much as I would want to, but one of the things which I was happy about yesterday, and I'm not sure exactly how it occurred, but Guyana was bowling, right? Guyana played the windwards, and I don't remember if it was Jacobus. It might have been Jacobus. So he was bowling to a left-hander, and he was bowling around the wicket. And commentators were like, maybe this guy should try going over the wicket. And within like about 2 minutes of him saying that, Ramdial, the captain, comes over and says to him, you know what? Try going over the wicket and just push the ball across his body. And, you have wicket keeper, you have somebody I think one person at slip. And he did that, and immediately, ball pops up. He didn't get the wicket, but the point is you could see the difference, because the thing is, when Guyana started, windwards were actually going along quite well. While on the Jamaica side, Jamaica was getting quick wickets and what have you. You see? So, assuming that nobody shouted from the pavilion to Ramdial to tell him, let this guy go over the wicket, you could see their, active captaincy and trying different things and so on.
Yeah.
The one negative for me, and again, I have to pick and choose what I speak to, because remember, all 3 games are played one day, so I'm not seeing everything. But once one match was done, I switched off and I was listening to another match, right? So Leeward Islands, Jamaica, like I said, that was the last match. Of the last match to end. And Atenes, he was on, 97, the 49th over, and you could see he was very anxious at the other end, right? The non-strikers end, anxious to get on strike to get runs. At that point in the game, we know they weren't going to win.
Well, you wanted to get a century.
He's anxious to make a century, right? And I wished at that time, I know umpires are supposed to be neutral, but given it's under 15, I just wish the umpire would have said, son, just chill. You're gonna get there, just chill. Anyway, he gets on strike, last over, and he loses.
They,
Loses his wicket.
they send the Leeward Island coach send any word? Did they
Somebody
send the
out.
water out or anything like that?
I don't. No. I don't think
Yeah,
that
they said
happened.
the
I didn't
onus
see
is
that
not
happen.
the
No.
onus is not on the
There you
umpire, but
go.
the staff at the time to say that. Um,
Correct. And like I said, I know the umpire gotta be neutral, but as a big
yeah,
man there, being on the 15, I just, whisper
somebody
something to him.
they got to understand, they got to create. But you know what? I would say that I like
Hmm.
the fact that I've seen better scores. I've seen the batting the long higher scores. They're batting more of the overs. That's what we asked for. And one of
Right.
the things that I like for Guyana, and I looked at the
Hmm.
other teams, but Guyana, they played five medium and fast bowlers,
Yes,
Hmm.
right?
when I was tuned in the other day,
And
I was watching the game against was it Jamaica? I think they had four fast bowlers in the lineup,
yes, they had four fast bowlers in the
right?
lineup. So, and it's the same thing. And I think that's necessary. And I think that I must again we beat down on the different board and territories, but I think that this
Hmm.
is a big
Yeah.
thing. Traditionally, fast bowlers don't play for Guyana. We normally would have spinners, started with
Hmm.
people like Clyde Watson, God rest the dead, and Roger Harper bowling a million overs, and we've lost when you listen to some of the older folks. We've a lot
Hmm.
of really good Guyanese fast bowlers went into the doldrums because they didn't get opportunities.
Not,
So
not
I think
only not
especially
only
for Jamaica.
not only opportunities because
Jamaica
they didn't get
brings.
opportunities. I think the pitches that have been prepared, over the last 30 years or so have not been conducive to fast bowling. So you have to like Guyana is obviously going to be an example for us. When a lot of times when Guyana went on the 19 tournaments or on the 15 tournaments, they were packed heavy with spinners, right? There might be a game where the pacer would play and he would probably bowl one or two overs, and that's it. Now you can't nurture a player like that. You understand? You can't develop a player like that. You're wasting time. And then you're saying, oh, we don't have the fast bowling stocks like we used to. How are you gonna have the fast bowling stocks like you used to? But when the fast bowlers turn up, it's a spinning wicket. You understand? And he
Hmm.
knows from the jump, he's probably only gonna bowl 3-4 overs in the whole game. What does that do for him? You understand? So I
yeah,
was really happy to see, the fact that there was some emphasis placed, and there is emphasis placed on Pacers playing in the tournaments, and because there's fast bowling points and all this kind of stuff, I think, right? So
yeah. Those are the points. That's why we are ahead of teams like that's why we had the Jamaica, Sammy, because of those extra points we get. And as you said, there's a nice young man from I didn't get is it the Robinson guy or the Plummer guy that's bowling fast for Jamaica?
I think that would be Robinson.
Yeah.
And first
They're
up, I think even in that Guyana match, I think like first ball, he almost got a wicket. And the feeling is going to be up and down. We get that, but yeah.
I
But guys, this is
go ahead, Walter.
imagine if this was a double run. These kids would have gotten better. That would say we need to get out because I'm sure that this is what happens throughout the other the test playing territories, and that's why these kids play a lot of cricket. I remember Footer didn't tell me once, like when they used to when Ghana on the 15 team, I think it was Ghana, but we used to go to England
Mm,
and then they went to play cricket and it was like this a number of different grounds and people playing cricket and it was like just cricket all over being played consistently every weekend and it goes back
mm,
to the Guyana we need to take advantage of our party culture, our fun culture where we have lights and we have cricket these under 15. Imagine you have an under 15 multi versus Burbiside or BI playing at night. It'll be awesome. We need to have these kind of things. The entire community come out. We go back. There's a big finals. We help. These things need to happen more. I saw Key that them had a table tournament, but I think that more needs to be done. Right throughout the Caribbean, from Jamaica right down to Guyana.
I agree. Change the conditions. The conditions need to change a little bit where more people can access the game after working hours and all these kinds of stuff. And you have a game. If you have a 50 over game, start it later in the day. You understand? Play it under lights. That's you got to get creative. Got to think outside of the box if we want to grow the game. We want people to be interested. You want people to be supportive. You've got to think outside of the box, right? One thing that I'm starting to notice is individual players are starting to score a little bit heavier. I don't think a century has been scored in the tournament as yet, but there have been a few 90s. Right?
Yesterday I had 2 90s and 1 88.
Yeah. I am particularly impressed by the young man from Barbados. What's his name? Justin Paris.
Well, actually 2 88. Yeah. Right. Sorry.
I like young Paris from Barbados.
They were talking about him and Justin. They were talking about him and Mason and Guest, guys.
Yeah. Nice young left-hander.
We're speaking about him and Mason and Guest.
Nice young left-hander. I'm really impressed by him. And this young kid from Guyana, the leg spinner, Riaz Latif. I like what I'm seeing, especially in this age where West Indies don't have any quality leg spinners. I hope someone gets a hold of him. I hope there's some investment placed into him in with regards to his development. I really like the look of him as a on the 15 leg spinner. Just thinking, and projecting and trying to look 10 years down the line. I think the kid can be something special.
As you mentioned that, Kevin, Walter, there's an error on that on the sheet, because I have Latif as a medium pacer.
Oh.
It's a nice young leg spinner, man.
So that's
gives it a nice tweak.
So that's the error, right? So you got to be careful with what you pick up there. Yeah, and Latif got what, 6? He's got the best bowling figure so far.
Yeah, he picked up 6 yesterday.
Tournament 6 he took it, 6 for 34, right?
Yeah, it was good.
But for me, for Guyana yesterday was Sicharan carrying his bat, opened the batting, and at the end of it all was not out. That was the highlight for me.
That's the type of thing that you want, right? If you get in, stay in, right? Like I said last week when we spoke about these guys, how are they responding to responsibility, right?
Right.
Whether they're in or they're coming in. Recognizing the situation, what it looks like, what are the demands of the game at that point in time, what the team needs at that point in time, and they're putting their hands up, and that's what you want to see, right? Speaking of young Paris again, Barbados were, I think, 17 for 2 in a couple of days ago, and him, what's the other young man's name? Let me pull it up here real quick.
Sorry, who was something for 2?
Barbados, not yesterday. I think it was Thursday. Him and Kalani Clark, they had a nice little partnership of, I think, of 100 and something. Both of them made significant scores, but the way how they went about that innings, the way how they built that innings, it was really impressive. Paris ended up at, I think, on 88 or something like that, and I think Clark made 60 odd or 70 odd. I can't remember. But it was
Clark,
a really nice.
72 and Clark made 86, Kevin.
There you go.
So Paris would have made 72, maybe.
Yes, but it was a really well constructed partnership. They recognized where they were in that time, and they batted the situation. Initially, they started slowly.
There's an important point, because one of the concerns I have, and I can speak to Guyana again, we understand, my home country. So even though I'm West Indian,
Reference
I'm
point.
going to pay a little more attention to the Guyanese games, right? When you look at round 1 and round 2, I think the difference in those 2 matches for Guyana came down to the middle order. And throughout the tournament, you want to look at other teams too and see how their middle order holds up. So like I said to you, Guyana lost 2 quick wickets inside of 1 over. And I was a bit concerned, right? But that was the match where Ramdial stood his ground and he carried through.
Against Trinidad.
You see? Correct. Against Jamaica, that wasn't to be. Again, our middle order that time did not show up. And I think Ramdial made 0 in that match. Good.
Yeah, they collapsed.
Yesterday now, we had where, of course, Sicharan carried his bat. And he, so we didn't have to depend on the middle order per se. But still, it will be interesting to see how teams, how in that middle, teams really stand up and carry through. In fact, for Leewards yesterday, that's essentially what we saw. Right?
But it's interesting to see how the tournament, because if Guyana wants a victory, they're going to have to hope somebody. Well, they'll probably have to beat Barbados, right? Because I think Barbados is their next opponents, if I'm not mistaken. Might be, but seeing that the two of them on the top of the table
tomorrow. Yeah, I think they're playing Barbados tomorrow. I should know this, right? I can check it now.
But the tournament is interestingly poised. Lots of performances
tomorrow, guys.
Say again?
Yeah, Leewards.
Leeward Islands. Okay. Tomorrow. So it'll come down to finale.
The big match for me tomorrow is Jamaica. Trinidad is the big match for me.
I
think that's where my mind was, and so. Huh?
Why that is the big game tomorrow?
Why do I say that? Well, for me, I mean, just from the rankings. First of all, Jamaica is at 3, Trinidad is at 4, and more than that, whenever the big 4, again, no offense to the Windwards and Leewards, but for me, the big 4 in CARICOM, Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana, Barbados, right? Whether it's political,
historically,
the size of the economy, that's it, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the big 4 matchup tomorrow, of the big 4 is Jamaica, Trinidad coming up. You see? And Trinidad especially is now at a point where I think they're going to be looking to win a match.
Yeah.
You see, given their recent stumbles or what have you. So Jamaica might meet up with a tougher fight than they expect. Who knows?
I'm liking
in any case, that's the match I'd be watching.
So let's do a predictions, right? Let's take a look, because it's Barbados Windwards, Guyana Leewards, Trinidad, Jamaica. Predictions, Walter.
For tomorrow, Barbados, obviously Barbados over Windwards, picking Guyana over Leewards, and I'm taking Jamaica over Trinidad.
Taking Jamaica over Trinidad.
That's fair.
Yeah, go with precedence.
So I would go Barbados over Windwards and of course Guyana over Leewards, unless something really crazy happens. I think Guyana and Barbados will win their matches. When it comes to Jamaica and Trinidad, I will go 50-50. I can see why Walter would go with Jamaica.
You gotta pick a team, Sammy. You gotta pick a team, Sammy. They get
I have to pick a side.
Unless you're saying there's a tie.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go Jamaica then. I'm gonna go Jamaica.
You're going Steve, Sammy.
So I'm gonna be the odd man out. I'm taking Trinidad over Jamaica. Obviously, Guyana over the Leeward Islands, Barbados over Windwards. Right? The Leeward Islands and Windwards haven't shown me enough to say that they can spring a surprise. right? Over
Yeah.
Guyana and Barbados. So it's Barbados, Guyana, and Trinidad. That is my three winners for tomorrow. Anyways, guys,
Yeah.
fun catching up with y'all tonight on the Top of Off Cricket podcast. It's been a good conversation again. Don't forget to like, share, comment. The comment section has been has been crazy. You know, there's some real funny interactions going on between me and the subscribers and the new visitors. You know, it's a real fun time. Anyways, we're gonna do this again sometime again in the week. You know, as usual, we keep it fluid. Thank you guys for coming out. One love. West Indies in we bones.
West Indies cricketers family, guys.
All the time.